Welcome to Great British Churches. Today we are at Shelley's church.
Hi, I don't know if you got that, but that was my grandson, Harvey. And today we are, as he said, at Shelley Church, which is near Hadleigh. And as you can see, I'm just going to back up so you can see. Try and be careful not to fall over. And there is the handsome man himself, Harvey. And there you have it in its entirety. It's an absolutely stunning church and it is full of history. It really is. So we're just going to have a walk around. I have got his mother with me somewhere. She's inside the church, avoiding being on camera, I think. So this church was built in the late 13th or early 14th century.
She's coming.
And the tower, you can just about see behind it, was built probably about a century later. And I don't know if you can see, but there are brick battlements up there that were given, which were built because Thomas Tilney in 1557 had bequeathed 40 shillings for them to be done. So that's the reason there's brick battlements up there. So we're just going to have a walk around here because this church has got something a little bit special. So I'm just going to walk. Luckily someone has cut the grass into a pathway so I can see where I'm going, which is unusual for me because I normally fall over. So there's a window here and you can see it's a Norman Lancet style window, and I will show you on the inside, but the panel there, the big panel, has got 2000 AD on there, so that's a mark for the millennium. So we're just going to go round. Laura has now joined us. Hello. So we're just going to come round here. So it's unusual that the tower is actually on the north side of the church.
They're normally the other side, wouldn't they?
They could be. Sometimes they're on the south side and they act as a porch into the church. But this one is on the north. But there's also, if Laura can pan round, is this brick addition. It looks like it's a brick addition, but it isn't. It started life off as a chapel and it's absolutely amazing. So I'll just let Laura show you all that. See, so you can see that it was built in the Tudor period because it's brick. It was originally built for the Tilney family, who were big landowners in this area, and it was built after the Reformation. Now the Tilney family lived nearby at Shelley Hall, which is down a little lane from here, and it is a private property, so no one can go in there and see it. But it is also where Sir Philip Tilney is buried. Now when we get in there, I will tell you a little bit more about the Tilney family.
It looks really nice because of the back.
And this bit here is the old Norman entrance into the church, and we'll be allowed to see inside that when we get through. It's now blocked up because on the other side is now the kitchen and toilet.
Can I hold it?
And you've got bell openings up there as well. The clock does work, so you can see what time of the day we've come here today. And the bells do work, and there are 5 bells in there, as Harvey has found out because he was allowed to pull them. So, whoop, he fell over.
This bit looks really, really old. You can see all the cracks there.
Yeah.
The black stone.
And if I don't know if you can see, you've got headstocks there that come down at the bottom of the dripstones. They are very, very worn.
This probably would have been. When was this bit built?
built about 14th, maybe 15th century. The church itself, Harvey, is late 13th century, early 14th century, and this was built roughly a century later, so about 100 years later it was built. Yeah, so that would make it 14th, maybe 15th century. I don't know if Laura can pan up there to see the brick battlements that were part of that 40 shillings that were bequeathed by the Tilney family.
Doing my best.
It's difficult when you're at the bottom of something that is so tall to see that. And you can see that the tower is made from flint with coin work, which would have been from stone that would have been imported here. You know, as we've said on many videos, especially with Paul, that we don't have a place where we would have this sort of stone. We're not renowned for it. So they tended to build churches in flint or rubble that they found in fields, and then do the fine decorative work in something like limestone, or in some cases that would have been imported from Caen in France to do that, and then carved and put on on side.
If you look at the stone here, they must have not filled that up and forgot, and the next day they must have forgotten about it.
Do you think so?
This might just be worn away with time, Harvey.
Yeah, but you can see you've got all the flint at the bottom here. Now I have been told that there is a glacial boulder along here somewhere.
Glacial. Is it this one? Like that?
It could well be, Harvey.
We've got one. There's potentially one there, is it, or is it that one?
I think
there.
it's that one there.
Oh, right here.
Now this would suggest that this was the site of a pagan church at one time. So when they came over here, when the Saxons and things come over here, because on the instructions of Pope Gregory, they would have used the pagan stone, they would have cleansed it and used it and put it into the church so that people always knew that they could come here to worship. Now, a church was built as protection for the altar. The altar was not built for the church, and this was how churches were mainly built, was protection for the altar. So we're now going through the porch and just trying to find some information on the porch, because that is quite old.
This is from the
Sorry
sorry.
to interrupt.
No,
No,
it's
you're
absolutely fine. This is
We-
from the Tilney period. This was when the Tilneys came
Well,
here.
the doorway is a 13th century door, and normally porches were built to protect that door. So if the church tower is no longer used, this to me, it feels sort of quite old. It's probably 15th century, maybe 16th century,
And we've also got the bunting here today for the Queen's Platinum Jubilee.
which we are on Jubilee weekend. So
No, Jubilee half term, isn't it?
it's the Jubilee weekend, Harvey.
Yeah.
No, half,
It's half term for you, but
it's
for every
half term, but the Queen's Jubilee is on Sunday.
Yeah.
look at all this lovely
Now
old
we've
wood.
got a continuous moulding around the door, so it starts off at the floor and it goes all the way around in one go to the other side of the door.
There must have been on faith. There must have been someone must have carved something that looked like that was supposed to be a face.
Oh, and we've got the bells going again.
Someone must have made this a face and then thought, I don't really like that, so they
Well, you
covered
can
it up
just
with
you
white
can
paint.
see that there is a face in there, and they're called headstops. And it's really old. It's worn away. It's been painted, so some of the features have been lost there. There you go, Harv, there's your bells. There you go, it's timed 1 o'clock.
Now we're making our way in. We have some lovely ladies flower arranging in here today.
So in here we've got a south aisle, which is this area here.
With a gorgeous blue organ.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll be able to see from the windows there's different styles of tracery in them. Right, we're just giving Harvey the camera.
So we do apologise if your view is now very shaky. But he is a training cameraman in progress.
Progress.
Okay. Do you want to go up and have a bit of a closer look at this window?
It looks like there might be some words there in the
Can you
white
see
bit.
what the words say?
And
So it says, "Go the glory of God,
God
and in memory of Henry Partridge, died October the 9th, 1864, aged 21 years old."
So there it looks like that it looks a bit hard to read because it's all in lines.
It's in Gothic script, Harvey.
It's in Gothic script, and
Let's lift this up a little bit.
on the pink bit it says Jesus wept.
It says,
Thy son liveth,
Liveth.
he hath borne our griefs, Jesus wept.
And then you have
"The Word was made flesh."
and then you have the cross that Jesus died on, a crown and a bow. But then it has words all around them. This one, the blue bird, the bird with the blue bit around says, God is love. The crown one says, He that shall inherit all things. And this one says, the word has man flesh.
The word was man.
Made flesh. Right, may I just have the camera back a second, please? So, Henry Partridge, if I'm understanding this correctly.
This is by William Warrington. And the figures were by his design. It commemorates Henry Partridge, who is one of Warrington's apprentices who died in 1864, aged 21. And I just think that's amazing that you had this apprentice who unfortunately passed away, and this was done in his memory. It's amazing.
Now I'm currently stuck in the pews, so if we can just come out a moment.
Right, Lou, do you want to go over to that little one?
I'll hold it in a moment, sweetheart. We'll just...
Okay, so you see them, there's loads and loads of stained windows, but I don't think you are seeing this. But there is 2 yellow bits.
Well, this one half is a 19th century church window done in the Gothic style, and it's unusual because it's actually got an iron frame around it.
And
you can see there's metal around there, and you can see how old the church is because the window casements is so thick.
And we have a banner saying Liam with Shelley, and then it's got.
Lift up the camera up a bit so people can see it.
And then, if I'm correct, that thing that looks like the cross that Jesus died on is a T, and I think that means mount.
Right, let's
Can I
move
just
away
have-
from this one.
Can I just have this camera a second?
Right.
Hang on a moment.
Right, I don't know if you've noticed. You come over here. These pillars lean that way.
Harvey.
You might be able to see it better from that end. It looks very drunk, doesn't it? It does look very drunk. But you can really see it here. If you stand here, you can see it at the top. It really leans towards those windows. It's not just a dodgy camera angle, it does actually lean. But it is amazing. So. Come over here. Shall we go in the tower now and have a look in there?
Is this the tower? And this is the inside of the tower. It is a bit dark right now. And this
part is what we showed you on the outside, was the old Norman porch. And this is where the bells are.
Yeah. And I believe I rang this one.
Yes, I think you did.
The middle.
But you must always hold it from the fluffy bits, not this bit here, otherwise you're going to get injured.
Yeah.
So this
And then there's the door to the tower.
So this is the old door.
That's at the back.
And if we look right up here,
That's where the strings. That
Yeah,
is
so
where
that's-
the strings go.
yeah, so the strings, the ropes go all the way up here to the bells. Right, hang on now. My son here is trying to be the cameraman. I'm having to try and keep encouraging him to not quite at the moment. And then this is the old piscina here. And the head stops.
More head stops. Looks like that one there's got a moustache of some sort.
But this one of the lovely ladies who are doing the flower arranging today, she said that this is the part where people used to come and they would actually get married in here before going through into the church. And also a woman after childbirth would have to wait here to be purified before she may go through to the church. But they've done all of this up, so now we've got a disabled toilet and a nice little kitchen. But look at all of the old bits of the tower.
Okay, so we're now going to go out through the church again because I'm just going down some steps without trying to break my neck. So we've got some lovely ladies here today who are doing flower arranging, so we try not to get in their way. And here, I'm trying not to bump into these wonderful, wonderful flowers. And there you've got a coat of arms for George III. And these were normally put in churches because they were no longer controlled by Rome. So they put these in for the king. The king was in charge. And I do just have to do this, not only because it is on the font, but because they're absolutely, the ladies have just been doing them. And I think it's absolutely gorgeous. It's a stunning flower display. So we're just going to have a look at the font for a second. I'll just get Laura to go around it for you.
Right, just sort of gently look after things.
So it's a 19th century font. And you can see that it's quite plain in style. It's not got any carvings.
It
or
has
anything
got
like
a little
that.
carving And here we just
There is a carving around that side, is there?
yeah, there's just it's at the front. We've just had a quick look
Perhaps
at it.
Harvey is small enough to get past there and have a look.
I'm trying to stop him from just knocking into things
The
at the moment.
smell of these flowers is absolutely wonderful.
And then you get back to the carving when you're done.
Right, you go round the other way, and then I'll just have a little look at this carving here. Looks like it's a H and an S.
No, that bit's.
I've just got to quickly come out. I'm not trying to demolish the church. Right, Harvey. Hang on. So just gonna
Right,
just
okay.
see.
These are funerary hatchments. One is undated for Mary Kerridge, and that's to the west, and the other is for Thomas Kerridge, who died in 1743.
And look up at this gorgeous ceiling, and I did find out from one of the lovely ladies here today, because I wondered what these holes were for. Because I thought for a moment they were like portholes on a ship, but actually there used to be furnaces that came down here, or boilers, and that's how they used to heat the church. There's another one just over there.
We have another room.
Right. These are 19th century pews.
Yeah, I know, but turn it round so we can see what we're filming. So these are the 19th century pews, and if we look back here, look at how gorgeous those flowers look on that font. The ladies have done an amazing job.
And if you look here, you've got linen fold panelling.
I want to do this because this is very interesting. It's wonderful.
We will do.
I'll have to explain that my flower interest is not done.
That's fine. That's absolutely
Because
fine.
it looks terrible.
Oh no, it looks beautiful.
It's going to look amazing when it's done.
Well, it'll have all those in it eventually.
Yeah.
Right, don't stand on the flowers.
So at the base of this nave window, we've got the tomb of Dame Margaret Tilney. And it's a chest tomb that's got an alabaster epitaph panel set into strapwork. So I'm just seeing who's going to win the argument over who's going to do the camera. And it's got flanking columns of mottled marble. And you can just see that down there.
That looks like
It's called mottled marble.
But when I first saw this, it did this
Right.
pillar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there we
It
go.
looked like it looked like metal to me.
It
And
does look
then-
like metal, Harvey, I do agree. Now, would Mummy like to take a film of her face?
Have they got stuff on it? Hang on.
That's fine, honestly.
I always feel guilty about putting stuff on her nose.
And that has had a poor history, her nose, hasn't it?
Well, I think it was destroyed a long time ago because we've had that restored
Yeah,
in the last 20 years, and it's all been lead lined and done.
yeah. Because she didn't start off here, did she?
She was at Shelley Hall, Elizabeth Tilney. She was.
No, but the
Sorry.
tomb that wasn't here originally, was it?
No, I think it was up there, wasn't it? I think
Yeah.
you're right, because it would have had those pillars, columns, and
Yeah.
sort of top bit. I
Yeah,
think she
it would
put
have had quite an ornate canopy, I
there. Yeah, I
think.
think so.
Which
and,
would,
and obviously the Victorians messed up all this bit.
yes.
Because there was a door, should have been a doorway here, and they just cut all the linen fold and messed it all around.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting they've done that, but it does cry out, it's a shame.
I know, absolutely, I agree.
Right.
It's a
Harvey.
shame because that's beautiful, that
Harvey.
stuff up there.
It
Please,
is.
please
Was
don't.
it part of the rood screen, do you think, originally?
heavens knows, I don't know whether this little church would have had one of those. I
Yeah, there's
suppose
no
it would,
steps to it, is there?
originally. Have you been in there?
Yes, we're
Yeah.
going to go in there in a moment.
But there's definitely a mess here created
Still.
by the Victorians.
Yeah.
And when we did our dig, which maybe Jane told you about, we did a dig here.
Oh, is that when you tried to get the remains of
Yes,
Elizabeth
the
Tilney?
guy in America.
Yeah.
We dug, her grave is here. Well, her grave is here, but unfortunately,
It wasn't her,
it wasn't
was
her.
it?
Well, no, it wasn't her, but I think she's probably in there. The problem is somebody was buried after her,
Yeah.
and what we should have done was take a DNA sample of the spoil that came
Yeah.
off it, because that might have been her,
Yeah.
but we don't know.
Yeah.
But
right down
when
there.
that happened, this had a Victorian floor,
Yeah.
which was really horrid. And luckily it was stuck to another floor underneath,
Right.
so we were allowed to take it all up. Victorian Society couldn't say anything,
Yeah.
and match it in with the rest of the brickwork.
Yeah. I do love this brick
Yeah,
floor.
it's
I
lovely.
think it's amazing.
Yes, it's lovely. And that was thanks to the Americans. They paid us for that,
Oh,
for the inconvenience of having it all.
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
done.
well, I'm going to be talking about that in a moment, about the Gosnolds and
And
that.
there's the plaque on the wall for that, for them,
Yes.
that they gave us.
Let's have a little look at the plaque.
Yeah, they gave us that to commemorate the
Yes.
battle. Anyway, I'll leave you to get on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so there is a Tilney connection here. Well, it isn't a connection, here's a royal connection through the Tilney family. Now, as my young cameraman is now looking at that, I'm going to read it. It says, in the chancel lies Elizabeth Tilney née Gosnold, died 1646, sister of Bartholomew Gosnold.
Harvey, won't you speak up and tell us what you'd like to do?
I'm going to go in front of this so we can actually
Go
see
on
the
then, you
words.
go in the front there and do that. So I'll read it out, all right? So again, in the chancel lies Elizabeth Tilney née Gosnold, died 1646, sister of Bartholomew Gosnold, a principal founding father of Jamestown, Virginia, the first permanent English colony and the birthplace of the United States of America. Presented to All Saints Church, Shelley, by the Commonwealth of Virginia, the Association of the Presbyterian Virginia Antiquities in 2006. Now, I don't know if you caught what that lady was saying a moment ago. Elizabeth Tilney Gosnold was the sister of Bartholomew, and they found a body in Virginia, and they thought that was going to be Bartholomew, but they needed his sister's DNA to find out. So they exhumed what they thought was her body. Unfortunately, the body they exhumed was of a much younger female, and they believe that it may have been Anne Framlingham, but they're not entirely sure. And like this lady said, they should have done more DNA samples from the area to see if she was actually there. Did you do the grave in the floor of her?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So the lady who's doing the flower arranging said that this is the grave here of Elizabeth Tilney,
Wait,
but there is another lady buried there as well.
this bit.
This stone right here.
I didn't even know that was a
Okay,
grave.
let's go up here. Look, now we've got all this linen fold panelling here, Harvey.
Which
May I just
Now
have the camera a
this has
second?
probably been reused from another place in the church. Not entirely sure. It could have been part of a rood screen. It could have just been part of panelling around the church, and it's been put here by the Victorians. And they're going to go inside the chapel.
Yeah. This is inside the vestry. Yeah. I've lost him in a curtain.
Pull it down now.
Yeah.
There we go.
And in here
Okay.
there is some more graves,
Okay.
and this one says, "Here rests the body."
Here rests the body of Dame Mary Lumley, the relict of St Martin Lumley, sometime Lord Mayor of the City of London, who died the 13th of June 1650, aged 75 years, who left issue by her first husband Thomas Symonds, merchant and alderman of London, 2 daughters, Susan and Hester. Now this vestry is the chapel, the original chapel for the Tilney family. Now it may be that they had this built just for themselves. We don't know. But this is the other side of that brick building. This is the inside of it. And as you can see, you've got on the wall, you've got panels that are depicting the 10 Commandments. Now the Tilney family were a really big local family, and they lived here in the 15th to 17th centuries. Thomas Tilney married Elizabeth Gosnell Tilney, the sister of who was one of the founders of Virginia, Jamestown in Virginia, sorry. And as I say, the remains of her were entombed in the church, and they did actually exhume her to try and see if that was him that they found in Virginia. Philip Tilney made the tomb out there for his mother, Dame Margaret Tilney, who died in 1598. And that's the one that can be seen in the window. Now, he had a son, Charles Tilney, and he was part of the Babington lot, and he was executed. Now, it is believed that Philip Tilney made that effigy to his mother to show that that was a great family and just had one bad apple in it, and that they should not be condemned for that one person, that they are this big family. So Philip Tilney was landed gentry in his own right, and went on to make royal connections through his cousin Elizabeth Tilney and his sister Agnes, who both married Thomas Howard, the second Duke of Norfolk. Elizabeth married Thomas Howard in 1472, and when she died in 1497, Thomas Howard then gained dispensation to marry her cousin Agnes in 1497. So not a big gap there between the two wives. Elizabeth Tilney's granddaughter was Anne Boleyn, and another granddaughter was Catherine Howard. So therefore, great-granddaughter was Elizabeth I. And she came to Shelley in 1561 as the guest of Philip's great-grandson, also Philip. It was this Philip's brother who married Elizabeth Gosnell. There was also an Elizabeth Tilney who was the attendant to Lady Jane Grey when she was on the scaffold during her execution, and she came from here too. So there's a really big royal connection to the Tilneys here.